on the fact that the Me Too movement has been really heavy in the media this year, that we are in the public eye, and that we are victims ourselves, I thought that it was really important for the Lonely Hearts to present an event that would really be important to the community. And molestation, rape, sexual misconduct as a whole is very big in our community, but it's also very hush hush. It's a secret. Don't tell. Don't say anything. You don't want to get Uncle so and so or cousin so and so in trouble. And so we keep it in. Our girls don't want to get kicked out of homes by their mothers, so they don't talk about their boyfriends molesting them. Um, we need to talk about it. We need to get it out. And so we are presenting Me to Portland. All right, ladies. So thank you guys for coming so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I just finished my show, so I was trying to get here as quick as
Yes, no, you were fine. You were fine. I am on you guys this time. So I thank everybody for coming. So I kind of gave all of you guys just like a little bit about what I want to do. But today's meeting is like just to give you guys, a broader view of what I wanted to do. See, where you guys could help, if you would like to, and just, how we can make this a really big thing. So, you guys all know that like the Me Too movement is like really big now. Everybody's coming out and talking about their situations and the things that have happened to them sexually. I just thought that it would really be nice for us to just like reach out to our community. You guys were just talking about the church, and it's so funny that I had just seen this meme that said, it's so funny that the discernment of the Lord can tell when a girl is being fast in the ass, but don't know when she's being molested. You know what I'm saying? And
also the church is asleep.
That is a big deal. It's really not talked about in our community. What I want to do is I want to have a PSA, do a PSA, maybe 20, 30 minutes, something that we can really like sit down and view. To where, I have a few women, I will be one of the women. Maj said that she was willing to do it. Rissa, I know that you said that you had an incident, but I didn't know if you wanted to actually be in the PSA or if you were just down with hosting, so, let me know. What you want to do. And then I have a woman, she does not live here in Portland. I actually met her in Florida, but we just so happened to be talking about the Bill Cosby situation. And she just came out and she told me her story, and it is so powerful and so I was at work just crying tears. She's 7 years old, and her older brother and her older cousin started having sex with her. It's definitely going to be an event, a presentation, but the main thing that I want to get out of it is that I want people to see the PSA. I want to have like some counselors on hand to talk to anybody that feels like they need to talk to somebody, and just hopefully we can just touch somebody. I know a lot of educators. I want to just rally up maybe like, at least like 50 to 75 people to come view it, and maybe, even if we just touch one person and help one person,
encourage them to speak up, to say something.
Me, I specialize in healing for women. And how I came out with this, with the BBB, is, and my auntie knows my story. I happen to be one of those girls that you guys are talking about. I was sexually abused, molested, and raped from when I was 7 until I was 17 years old, every single day. And so, and I was in a very dark place. And the day that I got up and I ran away and I left with the clothes that I had on and a bus ticket. Because I was on the verge of suicide, because I thought it would never end. So when I left, I never went back. I didn't go back for a long time, for years. And so, but when I left as a child, I never was able to grow out of that childhood. So my body changed, and the actions changed for the worse, because inside I never was able to heal. I never grew. And so when I eventually did speak out and tell somebody, the people, they locked me in a psychiatric unit and told me I was crazy. And so there was no healing form, because now I didn't let other people in. And so what they thought was, well, you're just the average crazy black woman, we're going to lock you away. And so eventually I had to be broken. I had to hurt on purpose and allow myself to hurt on purpose. Most of the time we like to bury things down inside and never open it up again. And it's not talked about. This is the crazy thing, because we are such a community of black women who, oh, if this happens to my child, oh, if this happens, this. But we are the main ones who allow this to happen. You know your daughters, you know your children, and then because it's somebody that's close, or a lot of the times it happens, we can say that, men. And so things get buried, and they don't want to be talked about because they don't want to get so-and-so in trouble, or Uncle Joe, he was a drunk, or whatever the case is. It's not talked about, and we're not protected. And so now these new breed of women, these young girls that are having young girls, the cycle is just being repeated. Nothing's being broken. And so first we have to tackle inside. Right. And so I will talk all day. I'm sorry, y'all.
Okay, but you speak very well, and you will be part of our PS.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. No,
but
definitely
yeah, so I'm already cooked, and this is amazing, because this needs to happen. We need to push awareness, especially on our community that is evolving around hurt. People are hurt. Yes. Even our aunties and uncles. We're not the first generation to go through this. This has been going on since a long time ago, and nobody is healing from the process. In order to grow and change things, what happened is we've become weakened as a community, because now we're scared to be unified. We're scared of it because all these things inside. And so we got to break it. You got to break it. You got to chop it down. You got to break it, and you got to get your breakthrough so that you can move forward. Yes. I'm telling y'all, because there's so much life out here for us, and there's so much things that belong to us. But in order for us to grab it, we've got to get to know who we are. We don't know who we are. So, we got to stop being scared of each other. And Vicky, stop me, because
But you definitely have said some good things, said some things that we want to hear. We want to hear your story on the PSA. We also want you to tell the ladies where they can go to get some help.
Absolutely. Yes.
Well, my name is Masha Vu.
Can you top that?
I cannot. I ain't gonna try. I'm just say my own thing over here. So, I've known Coco for a few years now. She is my fitness coach as well as a good friend of mine. And so, I think she asked me to be a part of this because of conversations that me and her have had. I too have been a victim. I would say I continue to be a victim. In the club, slapping the ass, grabbing, like the small things that people would say that you kind of brush off as a woman.
Every guy that comes up to you wants to hug you, or you know what I'm saying? They're never just like, hey, how you doing?
Let's talk to the camera for a minute. So, this is Push Entertainment,
So I know that when I had the conversation with Masha Vu about hugs, that people were kind of taken aback. Maybe they thought that I don't think that you can be friendly, or that you can hug a friend, or, just things that are very, very innocent. But what I've noticed over the years is that there are some guys that basically are molesting her. If you're not her significant other and you guys don't have an intimate relationship, why is your hand right there?
Woman, but still, if I didn't ask, don't mean it's not okay. Right. You know what I'm saying? So, and body style, body image, and the way you look goes into a lot of this. Like, you should never be ashamed with the way you look. If like you have to dress a certain kind of way or behave a certain kind of way for that to not happen to you.
There you go. Yeah. That sounds
very
I think that's you're a comedian. I'm love it. Yes, absolutely. Yes. Oh, my name is Victoria Muhammad. I am one of the hosts of Ghetto Rise Media. where we talk about current affairs, specifically black issues, which is right now it's so needed because a lot of our people are going through some serious things, especially in the educational system, police brutality, racial profiling. Us coming together to try and at least support one another, have black-owned businesses. There's a lot of things we have to do as people to uprise. In a sense, we have a long way to go because there's a lot of separation. There's a lot of distrust. When you don't trust, you don't get far. So I just did a show and I had a young lady on there written a book. You met her there too, the Women of Color. It's pretty good. That was a real good show. You'll be coming on next, so I look so forward to doing that. I have a panel of 3 guests here, and without further ado, please, first of all, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me today. And I'll start with you, young lady. Please introduce yourself.
All right, well, thanks for having me. Thanks for having us.
Yes.
I am Coco from Fit Girl. I'm a personal trainer, a nutritional consultant, and a life coach. I am here with the co-star from my reality show, The Lonely Hearts Club, Miss.
My name is Mashavu Hicks, and as she said, I am the co-star of Lonely Hearts, and I too have In the Mix going on, and I am a fit girl.
Right now, not just in our community, but all over the United States, all over the world, there are so many people that are coming out and saying that there has been some type of sexual misconduct that has been perpetrated against them. And now we have, the Bill Cosbys and, we have the Matt Lauers and we have all these people, that people are coming out and talking about. And, those people are now suffering consequences for the things that, have happened or they've been accused of. And, it's really great that those women that are in the spotlight and dealing with these, men that have power and stuff are able to come out and talk about their stories now. But what about our people that are just here in the community? I'm sure that every single person in this room knows somebody that has been molested or knows somebody that's been raped or, sexually harassed or, any of those types of things. And so we just think that it's important to bring it out to our community. So what we're doing, actually, we're filming tonight is we're filming a PSA where we'll be kind of talking about our stories, us along with some other women. We'll be telling our stories, and then we're going to have an event that's going to be on July 28th. The first one is going to be invitation only. So we're going to invite some school groups and some people that we know that probably need some help and need some resources. But we're going to invite them out. We're going to show them our PSA where we're talking about our stories, and then we're going to have a panel discussion where they can ask us some questions. We'll have some resources on hand if anybody needs, help getting out of a situation or somebody to talk to, or, just try to get people whatever they need so that, people can get help, because it's really hard when you are, walking around with secrets. You're walking around with these stories, and it's not really even just about people, getting raped. We always think the worst of the worst. We think about, somebody smashing in your window, coming in your house, body slamming you and raping you.
Yeah, but and it's not always that.
How about being spat on because you didn't want to give somebody your phone number?
Ooh.
That literally happened to me. This man spit on me because I wouldn't play with his advances. I was like, oh, I'm good, totally polite, and then all of a sudden I'm all these B's, and he literally spit on me.
Girl, what'd you do?
I wanted to, you know what? But who? I can't fight no 6'2".
You're right.
But I was so livid that my denial of his advances, he felt like it was okay to do that.
That was an absolute assault. Did you not know that?
Oh,
that was
absolutely.
An assault. He should. Oh, well, see, we on
Absolutely.
TV.
And this was some years ago. This was years ago. This
had
had to have been probably at least 8 years ago.
So these are the types of things, you know.
And I mean, just
it's not
talking
just
about
like-
it makes me my blood boil
Yeah.
all over
blood boil
again.
just to
I
hear that.
swear.
You know,
I
people
was so
grabbing
livid.
on you. You know, you walk into the club, people are grabbing on you and, you know, thinking that they can just touch you. You know, people going on dates and you know, being raped by people that they're, you know, supposed to be
I know.
falling in love with
Right.
or whatever.
Or
You know what I'm
somebody
saying? So
they kind of trust it too. But you know, I'm going
Yes.
to say this, and it doesn't make it right. You say like going to the club and stuff, and I've heard this before. Some men really believe that because of the way this woman is dressed, it's an invitation to do. And if she out there twerking and things like that and shaking her flesh around, so some men really feel like it's okay. I'm not saying, well, I am saying, never is it all right for a man to do anything.
I am a voluptuous black woman, and
Absolutely.
I cannot help what my body style looks like.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ones, because there's a lot of voluptuous women out here. I'm talking about the ones, and I'm still not saying the man never has a right to do it, but I'm talking about the ones, and I've seen in some of the clips where the women go out to literally with nothing on. Tassels here, booty out, twerking and stuff. Still, he has no right to do it.
No.
And they be voluptuous too. So I'm just saying, it says a lot about their mind, but then it says a lot about the woman. Even if I had a pretty shape, I wouldn't want to be out just exposing it.
But
yeah,
some
but
things you
even,
can't fit.
I
You
mean,
can't.
look what I have on right now. I am fully clothed, but my butt is showing. And there has been times where I have walked into a club or walked into a room, and some guy has thought that they could tap me
Grab
on my
or
butt or grab on me.
He shouldn't think
or-
that. But let me say this. So I'm trying to clarify what I'm trying to say. Let me try it again. Wear whatever you want to wear, but I'm saying some men have said that, well, look what she got on. Do you guys think that if a woman went in a club, even though maybe I'm kind of contradicting
Look,
what
but
I'm
don't
saying?
touch.
Keep your hands
Exactly,
to
they
yourself.
should.
Look,
Keep
but
your
don't
head-
touch.
absolutely.
Even
she's
if
butt naked,
whatever she's
look,
wearing
don't
is
touch.
exuding sex to the
Got
umpteenth
it.
power, that does not give you the right to touch, say, or do whatever to that
I
woman.
agree. I totally
Period.
agree.
And
'cause
I'm gonna
I
take it-
agree. Okay, so
I'm
now you wanted to touch on Bill Cosby. Let's.
Well, it's not necessarily just about Bill Cosby, but it's this thing with people saying like, well, how can they come back 30 years later and blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm going to tell you guys, I had a situation where something happened to me, okay? For years and years and years, I questioned every single aspect of that night. Well, you was out drinking. Well, maybe you know what I'm saying? I questioned
blame
everything
yourself.
about everything that I did. And this happened when I was 14 years old. When I was in my 30s, a girl was doing my hair, and her and I were just chatting about a whole bunch of stuff. So she started telling me about the situation that happened to her. It was the same exact situation, and it was the same exact man. And until that day, over 20 something years later, until that day, I knew that I didn't have to question myself anymore. And I knew that really happened. So nobody can tell me, oh, that was 40 years ago, that was 30 years ago. It is the victim's choice, number one, when they want to come out and say whatever happened to them. You know, a lot of people say, oh, well, I would go to the police right away, or I would tell this person. You
It's
said
not
something
that.
about, you know, your sisters and brothers. I told somebody the next day that always protected me, was always there for me about what happened to me. And he was like, oh, well, maybe you wanted to do it and stuff. So that even put like questions, you know what I'm saying, in my head about what happened to me. So, you know, when people are like, oh, well, they shouldn't wait so long to tell and all that
Right.
stuff, until it happens to you, you
never
don't
know.
know what
Well,
the
let me say,
situation is
first
gonna
of
be.
all,
We are extremely grateful to Victoria for inviting us to be a part of the Ghetto Rise production. During filming, the rape trial and subsequent conviction of Bill Cosby was a current event. So it was important for us to talk about, especially based on the fact that we were presenting the Me Too Portland event. Let's be clear. We love Black men. We love men in general. We are not male bashers, but we are very passionate about rape, about molestation, about sexual misconduct, and we don't feel that just because one of our Black stars, one of our heroes, is accused, that we should support them just based on the fact that they're Black. We need to look at all the evidence. We need to listen to them when they say, yes, I did this. And we need to treat them accordingly. Otherwise, we're just part of the problem.
And I apologize that happened to you. I'm very sorry that happened to you. But let me ask you this. You said that when you were young, it happened when you were 14? Okay, did you remember that?
Yes, absolutely.
You see, this is my whole point because my niece brought it up before we even started the show. You remember that from way back when you were 14.
Absolutely.
So this is my dilemma. Those women that have come from, first of all, that one lady who worked on Tyra Banks' show, one of the judges, you guys know what I'm talking about too. She was a model way back in the day. I can't remember her name.
Janice.
Janice. She just recanted what she said recently.
She did.
So let me say this. My point is this, and like I said, I apologize. It's wrong. It's wrong. When it happens, it's wrong. But my whole point is this. If it happened 30 plus years for all those women and they're now coming forward, how could they not remember? That's why I think a lot of this is a big conspiracy. Their memory is now coming back. Is that not a coincidence that all these women now they all remember? They all forgot 30 plus years ago. Now it's all coming back.
Well, I didn't know anybody said that they forgot about it.
Some women changed their
It's
story.
a coincidence. So nobody came forward. This is what I get. Whether Bill did it or not, because he may have.
Well, he did say that he gave women drugs.
Okay.
And had sex with them.
Okay. I don't know if he owned a rape. That's what I'm saying. I don't know if he owned a rape. But if he did, let me say this. No.
That's right.
No.
If you've been following this trial, then you know that when Bill Cosby was disposed, he said that he did, in fact, give women quaaludes to loosen them up, to have sex with them. In any definition of the word, that is called rape. You are altering someone's mind in order for them to do something that they would not normally do. That is not okay. That is the same as giving date rape drugs. And we really need to cut it and stop victim blaming.
No. If he didn't have sexual contact with them, I don't know which ones he's owning. But the ones that he didn't have sexual contact with, all these mysterious women are coming forward now. They're going. This is the thing. They know that the statute of limitation has run out, so they're going to get him in his pockets civilly, like they did O.J. Simpson. They know how to break him down.
He already
So
settled out
what
civilly
about,
for some of them, and then
they
he still
got new cases. What about Matt Lauer? What should happen to him? What has he done?
He should go to jail. All of them
Any
should go
of
to
them
jail.
who raped
I'm not putting Bill Cosby in a box of his own. But I will say this: every dog has his day, and it ain't their day. When their day come up, they'll have their consequences.
they should have their day today, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because when a black man do it so callfully, he's put in the medium, he's put on the torch. But it's even Donald Trump.
No, I agree.
Number
I
45.
definitely
Look at all
agree
these
with you.
white
I
men that's doing
definitely
that.
agree with you on that point, for
agree with
sure.
that.
But I mean, that doesn't excuse Bill Cosby at all.
It don't excuse
but
any of them
what
that
it
do
does
wrong.
do is it still makes with the whole everything else going on, like how is all these other people still doing stuff and still in position, still in power, and ain't one of them got to flee the country? Like,
That's
what's
the whole
that all
point.
about?
Bill Cosby has had a great life. He has made money. He has did everything
had a
that he
lovely
wanted to
run.
do in his life. Every dog has his day.
Right.
When you
And
drug
then-
people and you have sexual intercourse with them, then you go to jail.
Biggest piece of chicken.
Do we know how many people he actually had intercourse with? Do we know? We don't.
No.
None
We
of
know-
us
yeah,
do.
we'll
We're
never
going
know.
on assumption. That's why I say I'm not going to just chop the man's
But
head off.
what I will say-
what I am saying is that if he did it, he needs to pay. I'm not
does need to
against
pay.
that at all.
But what
I'm
hap-
saying every other person, especially now today, this is the man running the United States of America, number 45, touching on women, groping women. Nothing's happening to him.
Something
No,
should
he
happen-
doesn't
something
happen
should
to him
happen to
too.
him.
I think like Farrakhan was saying on the clip, media plays a large role in a
Yes.
lot of this,
Oh, yes.
unfortunately. The white America can pick and choose who they want to
Yes.
scrutinize. They can pick and choose what is important to let the masses know, and then that's what everybody gets
And they run with it.
over with or goes and runs with it. So Cosby being the first or whatever, everybody's going to have their day, like Coco said, I believe. But it's a lot of it has to do with what's portrayed in the media, and then a lot of it has to do with when women who do lie, come and say something and then they lie about it. It makes it even that much harder for those who are telling the truth to be
come up.
believed.
Yeah.
And then for those who, it just makes the whole spectrum of everything
really
that much
does.
more messier. And so people this is nothing to play with.
It's not.
If something like
It's
this
not.
happened to you, don't come. Like, if the statute of limitation, you want some money, like, you should have been done did all that. you know, we
But
know
they
he's
couldn't
wealthy
touch
and
him. They couldn't
whatever.
touch him then.
But don't go lie on anybody
don't
to try
lie.
to get no
Don't
money.
lie.
And then if it really did happen, like, you're hindering anybody else's story. That's the truth.
Yeah,
And
makes
it's
bad.
not okay.
It makes them start doubting other women that come forth. Why are you doing it? Why are you saying it? Then you're making me feel like a victim all over again. Because a lot of times women are made to be the victim regardless. It's like you say, if I don't want you to touch me, don't touch me.
Period.
Period. And men need to understand that. Because if I want to touch, well, see, men are different. They come from a whole.
They'd be like, "Look,
Absolutely. Hopefully, you know, you've been able to share your story, you know, because you know what, I bet, I know it still bothers you. I can see trauma in your face. And
well, it doesn't bother me per se, but I get bothered when I'm having these types of conversations and I feel like people are victim blaming or you know, or just not looking at things from a victim's perspective. You know, like you guys just said, oh, well, you know, all these women, they're just now remembering. Well, you know what? Maybe there are like a couple that are lying. I don't feel like everybody's telling the whole entire truth, but when 20-something women come out
Not
and say
everybody
something,
gonna tell the same lie.
you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And then there are things like, I remember watching one of the testimonies, and a lady said that when she was vomiting, the drugs made her vomit. So she was vomiting, and he was standing over her. And when he was standing over her, his belt buckle was kind of loose, and she could hear it clinking against the toilet. Who makes that up?
No,
that is not
I'm
something that people make up. And so I think that I just think that, you know, people really need to listen to the victims, because when we start to victim blame, that makes people that are victims not want to come forward. This is the reason why women don't come forward.
I don't know how many are truths. I don't know how many are lies. I just don't know. All I'm saying is that what happened to him should happen to every other white man. And I'm saying white man right now today. That's all I'm saying. I don't know who he really did that to. I have no idea. He needs to pay for that. He's got to deal with that.
They're making him pay right now.
They're going to make him pay for it, whether he did it or not. They've already slammed him with it, so he's stuck. But I'm just saying, I was just making an example my niece had mentioned, because she's been a victim. And she said every single day of her life, she knows and she thinks about it every day. She said, so Auntie, how could some of these women not remember until recently? And so it kind of made a little sense. Like I said, I don't know who's lying, who's telling the truth. Nobody really does, except for Bill Cosby and that woman.
So
that's it.
So I don't carry things with me, but I do want to help other people.
And you are doing it. And you're doing it. And that's the positive. See, that's the blessing there, though. For what you went through, and you're sharing in many areas. Your businesses, you're making it happen, and that's a blessing. And you know what? And you can save lives like that, believe it or not. Because there are some women who literally don't even want to live no more from what they've been through. You know what I'm saying? And you don't know how many lives you can touch and save. And they in turn do the same thing. It stands out. Yeah. See, that's a blessing. You're doing it. You're doing it.
Don't talk about it. Don't say nothing. Be quiet. Don't tell us about folks what's going on in this house. They're going to take you away. Put you in a home crazy white folks, and they're going to touch you. They're going to touch you. They're going to touch you. Who touched you? After the pastor touched the lives of everyone in the church, but he touched you with the same hand that he praised God with. Grandma will try to bathe you in holy water as you speak of the unholy things that he did to you, tell you that he is a good man who been with his family for too long to try to touch on you who touched you. I know your daddy been gone for a long time, and mama been searching for love in all the wrong places. Mama brought home a new boyfriend yesterday, and he told you that you was going to be a pretty little woman with those hips and those lips. Boys wasn't going to get left with it. He told you boys was always going to chase after you. And mama laughed, because he didn't mention that he was going to have you burned later. Too scared and too out of breath to tell mama, because you don't see it happening in a while. And who you think you is to take all that happiness away from her? As seeing her daughter, as one of her daughters okay, is a gift enough. Say something. Don't be quiet. Tell somebody what happened in that house. Black women have been quiet for too long. Mouths forced shut by cousins and uncles and bosses and coworkers and family friends. Souls crushed by the people that we were taught to trust. Predators disguised as good men. My dad taught me how to scream. When I'm uncomfortable, when I feel unsafe, when something has happened to me that I did not want to happen anymore, my dad told me to scream my lungs out and never stop, because 1 in 4 women will be sexually assaulted before the
understand what I've been through. All this pain inside, you ain't going. You ain't going nowhere that I've been to. You ain't going nothing that I've been through. You ain't going nowhere that I've been to. You ain't going, you don't know where I'm going. As I open up the Bible, I pray the Lord help me change up. That's when He made me a disciple. Well, let me show you where I came from. From the land of the lost, can't see it, but you gotta understand I was lost. Wanted a man for the cost, died for the world, nailed his hands on the cross. I didn't care when I was drowning, a baby girl gone found dead on the island. Let's have a moment of silence of all the loved ones dead and gone from the violence. Now bring it back. Locked down for a couple years, but I needed that. Now I can see where I'm going. All this pain aside, where I've been, you ain't going.
Over the past couple of years, we have seen multiple women come out and speak against sexual misconduct that has been perpetrated upon them by prominent men. We applaud these women for being strong enough, for being brave enough to tell their stories and also take action against the men that have victimized them. Unfortunately, though, there are women that are in our communities that do not have the opportunity to speak out, that are not believed, that do not have the resources, and that don't have the understanding that they can get help, that they can tell, and that the people that are hurting them can be persecuted. It's unfortunate that it's not random that this happens, that more times than not, a woman has had some type of sexual misconduct against her. We always like to think about the big bad wolf, the man that is going to bust our windows, come into our house, body slam us, and rape us. But it's not always that way. There are stepfathers, there are uncles, cousins, family friends, dates, the man that you're just walking past in the club, all types of men that don't have this scary face that are harming women. And the women that are going against all these big prominent men have said me too. Today I am going to have some of my friends come here that have also been harmed. They also have a story to tell. And we're all here to say, Me Too Portland.
Well, I want to start off by saying that your perception is your reality. So if you grow up in dysfunction, that's your reality. For many of us, that has been our reality. We grew up in dysfunctional environments, which makes the Me Too movement something that is universal. For myself, I'll say that I always had a sense that the things that I was going through weren't right to a certain extent. There was always something in me that told me that I deserved better. There was always something in me that told me that there was another side to what was being showed to me. I experienced a lot. I did not always know that what I was experiencing was a lot until I continued to grow and I continued to learn and I continued to get exposed to different ideas and other people's reality. When I was in college, I read a passage in a book that said, I forget the statistics, but the statistics mention that single mothers are more likely, black single mothers are more likely to abuse their children than other races. So as I'm going through school and I'm learning all these different knowledges and I'm seeing these statistics that are about me, but I've never read these statistics before.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mashavu, and I'm here to tell my Me Too Portland story. Let me start, I guess, with saying, as a young woman, I think a lot of things started with not loving yourself. If you don't know who you are, love yourself and know what you deserve when it comes from the opposite sex and the attention you should get, then a lot of times you accept anything. With that being said, I would say that at a young age, I was putting myself in situations that I shouldn't have, which then led to people assuming that that's just the way that it goes and it's just okay, because that's just the type of person I am. I had no choice at that point, because that's just how I was and how I acted with men. I've been called every name under the book. I have been spat on by individual or a individual in particular because I didn't want to, I wasn't okay with his advances. I've been physically assaulted multiple times, multiple times. I've been raped once of my knowing, maybe twice of my not knowing. So I've been through a lot.
So when I was 14 years old, I actually snuck out of my house. My mom was kind of strict and I couldn't go to any and every party that I wanted to go to. So I actually snuck out of the house to go to a party. And when I got there, there was a guy there that was trying to talk to me, and all night he was just on me. And he was, nice. He was cool. We danced. All of my friends knew him. Nobody said you need to stay away from him. Nobody gave me any type of warning. It was like, everything was cool with this person. So at the end of the night, when it was time to go home, he offered to give me a ride home, and I accepted. And once again, nobody said you don't need to get in the car with him or anything like that. I just, was having a good time. He was nice, and he was going to give me a ride home. We were in a neighborhood that I was not very familiar with, and we got in the car, and instead of him taking me home, he drove into a park. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. It's pitch black. I'm in a neighborhood that I've never been in before. I'm 14 years old. I want to say that he was probably like 18, 19. I'm this little 110-pound girl. He's 6 foot something. And, just basically he pulled into the park. He, wanted to have sex. I did not want to have sex. And he overpowered me. And he took what he wanted. And not only did he do that, but he never even took me home. Once he got done doing, what he wanted to do, he took me back to the place where the party was. So now I have been through, basically this trauma. I feel humiliated. My friends are there. So they're like, what? I thought you were going home. Like, what are you doing back here? So, I told my friends what happened, and, they were young like me. And so they were like, oh, well, that's messed up. Like, that's too bad. Like, they were mad and all that stuff. But, 14 years old, nobody really knew what to do about it.
I remember one specific incident where one of my abusers came into my room. I was sleeping at the time before they entered, but something had told me to keep my eyes closed when they entered. And I still remember like all the different sounds that had happened and everything. He entered my room and he set this orange bowl that we used to have, these plastic orange bowls, on my dresser, and I heard him drop it because I remember being familiar with that sound. He placed the bowl on my dresser, and as I was only sleeping in my t-shirt and my underwear, but I didn't expect anyone to come in my room. And he started to pull my panties down, and he started to brush or groom or touch my pubic hairs. And my whole body just froze, and I began to sweat. And I remember someone calling his name, and him not rushing, slowly putting my panties back up, tapped me, and took the bowl and left my room. And I remember after he left, crying. And I started to rethink a lot of the other incidents that had happened in our home. And I told myself, I'm living with a child molester. And I'm 13 at the moment. And I remember not being able to sleep that night. And I remember getting up the next day, and he was outside and locking the door so that he couldn't come in so that I can tell my story. It didn't go over very well because I ended up staying at my grandfather's house for like the next few weeks. And before you knew it, I was back at my home. We didn't talk about the issue, and I just went back to my normal life.
David, he was my brother, and Bruce, my first cousin. My mother and father both did disc jockey work, and they would go to work at night, and he would be there to keep us, me and my two brothers. And when we were all asleep, he would come and pick me up out of the bed, take me into the half bathroom in my mother's room, pull my clothes completely down, sit me on the sink, and he would actually penetrate his penis inside of me. After my brother would do what he did to me, which was molest me, enter me totally, my cousin would go, he would be lying in the bed from behind and do exactly the same thing. By shoving my elbows so I wouldn't scream or moan, and trying to enter me as well. I was 7, they both were 17. He used to have a machete in the corner. He put black socks in my mouth and put duct tape, gray duct tape on my mouth. I was afraid of baby doll hair because he would have a baby doll head off of the baby doll. He knew I was definitely afraid of it. He would have it in the bathroom while he was sexually harassing me and having sex with me. And I would ask him questions like, what is this? When he was ejaculating, he'd tell me to shut up, I'll kill you. And he would do his tongue real wicked and funny, and I was 7. I was a victim of circumstances, very fearful of my brother. He was 6'3", or 240 pounds, a black belt. So at 7, you're looking at your big brother like, wow, he's molesting me and he's threatening me. So I was in fear of my life, pretty much.
My abuse started, my first encounter was when I was 3 years old, and my stepfather had rubbed my bottom, but that was it at that moment because my mom came home from work. So then the next encounter happened years later. I believe I was about 8 or 9, and he rubbed up on me, touched me, my different body parts. And so the way he used it was as a punishment for being bad in school or not doing a chore, but regardless to what it was a form of a punishment. At least that's how I saw it as. And so that time, I believe it was a Friday, and I think I had detention at school or something. Nothing major, but he touched me. He whooped me. I got a whooping with a belt, and then I was naked, so he told me to take my clothes off while he whooped me. And so then after he whooped me, he molested me. So something that rings in my mind that I think about back then that I think now is that he said he was gonna put something in me the next time, not knowing what it was or whatever. So me not wanting to be beaten or abused or molested and touched on, I tried my hardest to be good in school, which I did. I succeeded. But even still in his eyes, I still did wrong and still failed at being good or to what his liking. So the next, I say, Monday, that's when he penetrated me in our family room on the couch and told me to never tell anyone, because if I did, he was going to kill my mom's side of the family, which is my grandma and auntie and those guys. And I couldn't see them as it was anyway, because he sheltered us from them. And we couldn't go visit. We couldn't go to family functions, because now all we knew was pretty much his family. They couldn't come over to our house either. So it was kind of hard growing up, not being able to hang with your favorite cousins.
I found myself in relationships with men who only wanted to be with me because of the way I looked or what I gave them physically, but didn't really ever love me for who I was from Ashavu. So I found myself in abusive relationships emotionally and not physically, but emotionally for sure. A lot of times I would feel badgered by them because I would just be this carefree person, not knowing that their insecurities would then come on me because I shouldn't be out here enjoying life and doing these things. So I would have all of these inter-turmoil issues with myself and how I should conduct myself as a lady. And it took me some years to figure it out. But along those years, I had some not so good things happen to me. I was in a very abusive relationship with a guy that ended with him pulling out guns, not threatening to kill me, but threatening to kill himself, which would not be pleasant if I was to witness that. Talk about emotional instability. So I dealt with him. I also was in a relationship with a guy that was also very emotionally abusive because he just didn't believe anything I said to him. So no matter what I did, I was in the wrong. No matter if I explained my situation, if I didn't, I was just always doing something wrong.
I knew it was abnormal. I used to pray to myself and say, Lord, why my brother and cousin messing with me? We're siblings. They both had girlfriends. Mentally, I used to be like, Lord, I just wish you would take me out of this world because I was miserable, afraid to tell, because he would threaten me. The machete would be there. He would sharpen the machete. He would make sure it was Vaseline, always on hand. He always made sure them socks. That's why I didn't like black socks. For years, I didn't wear black socks. Because 7 years old, socks can fit in your mouth with gray duct tape. Mm-hmm. So, and it was a violent act. He would just do his tongue real crazy and stretch his eyes. I kill you, shut up. And jugging at the same time while he's telling me to shut up. Very, very violent. No love. So that's why at 12, I got really promiscuous. I started going out with guys, having sex, and my sister was like, why are you doing that? I said, well, I wanted to see the difference in willingly giving my body to someone or versus someone taking my innocence away from me.
I learned the hard way the value of appreciating what God has blessed you with, life and your one vessel body that you have, and that you have to really treat that sacredly. And because of the way that I was acting, a lot of times people thought that I was okay with them touching on me and hitting on me and assuming that I wanted sex when I didn't ask for it. And so a lot of times I would get into situations with these men based off of their ideal of who I was because of the things that I've done in the past. And so I've had to adjust what I present, how I present myself to people. But even then, that doesn't change other people's opinions or ideals of you.
I started to express myself. Some may consider it to be negative. I started to fight. I would lash out at people. I even would became comfortable with giving myself to people, giving my body to people. I almost felt that I owed them my body. Oh, you took me on a date? Oh, okay, you want me now? And that's really what it was. It does something to your self-worth. When you are penetrated, when you are touched at a very young age, it does something to your mentality as you grow up. Everyone is different. But for me specifically, I know that it minimized the abuse that was happening and continues to happen in this world. And then it also told me that I wasn't worthy of the things that I knew that I was worthy of.
I had my first child at 14. My boyfriend beat me up at 14, 15, and that's all I knew. So each relationship that I get into is horrible. It's not a good relationship, and I started to, at the time, normalize it because that's all I knew. Now that I look back on it, that's basically what I've been doing. So I really can't say that I've been in any good relationships in my 41 years of life. So now I'm just fighting to I know I'll never be normal again. It's too late for that, but I want to be happy.
Because I was so fearful, of telling my sister that I was molested. I'm a victim, I need help, but I was scared, so it makes you kind of promiscuous. It makes you do things that you really don't want to do, but you're doing it trying to escape what happened to you. I had a boyfriend, and I thought I was in love, but it wasn't. It was just, I was just doing things out of really spite and didn't know what to do. And by my mother being gone and working at night, who was out of town?
I called somebody that was really, really close to me. Somebody that was always a protector of me. Somebody that I knew, loved me and cared about me. And I told that person what happened. And I was thinking like, oh yeah, he's going to go kick his butt. He's going to get him. And instead of doing that, he basically accused me of wanting to have sex with the person. And, oh, you were out drinking and you weren't supposed to be at a party anyway. And it was like everything was my fault. And so I just basically let it go. Over the years, whenever I thought about it, I always thought like, well, you weren't supposed to be out drinking. Oh, you weren't supposed to be out of the house. Well, maybe you did. Did it really happen the way that you thought that it happened? And, my mind just really was not clear on what was going on. I guess, just because when I went and told somebody, they instantly started to blame me.
When the sexual abuse came into play, my spirit was broken. I was broken, but I didn't have nobody to turn to because I didn't know. He had already said he was going to kill my family. And so why would I want my family dead if I, wanted to be with them and even visit with them or even talk to them? So that sheltered me from not being able to speak up and say, because I knew after a while, I knew it was wrong. And then for him to threaten me on top of that, I knew that obviously what he's doing, he knows it's not right. And for him to say he's going to hurt my family, then there it is.
Because what trauma does to you is it messes all your insides up. You don't know how you feel. You don't know how to express it. And especially when people are telling you to be quiet or your story don't matter or that's not true or turning the other cheek.
At one time, my father saw my brother fondling me under the blanket. My dad caught him and shot at him, told my mother, if you don't get this man out of this house tonight, I'm going to kill him. Mm-hmm. So then my brother left and didn't stay with us for like 8 years. He went into the military and went on about his business. And one incident, the same brother I'm talking about, David, molested me. I had got 3 teeth extracted. Mind you, I'm diabetic. He beat me because I asked him to play Earth, Wind, and Fire. And he told me to shut up and leave him the heck alone. He beat me until I started hemorrhaging and had to go in the hospital for 5 days. So this same brother that molested me also beat me. He just acted like he hated me. He just was mean to me.
I remember the day he got arrested, March 26, 1991. It was a Friday. And He went to jail. And I ended up testifying only because found out that he had did the same thing to my sister. And so I went to court basically on her behalf. And he did 7.5 years, got out, and opened up a barber shop. Wasn't supposed to have kids in the shop, had kids in the shop. Just I'm hearing different things, seeing different things. It's right in the neighborhood of where I live.
My brother played in the NBA. He had bought my mom and father a house. They passed away. And that same brother lived in the house with us. So he was beating the heck out of his wife. And I knocked on the door and I said, if you hit her one more time, I'm going to call the police. He said, you ain't going to do nothing. I said, wait a minute. I said, you're the same person that molested me. I told his wife. I said, he's not just abusive. I said, he messes with children. I said, you better watch your daughter. And I came out and told his wife. Because he was mean. He was beating on his wife, and I just couldn't take it. It was eating me up. It's like a sore that you just keep scratching and keep spreading. And I had to tell somebody. I felt like my heart was going to burst open. Because I saw this man that I was definitely afraid of and disliked because he was so mean to me.
When I was, I want to say about 35, 36 years old, you know, this is well over 20 years later, I was getting my hair done, and me and my hairdresser are just, you know, chit-chatting about random things, and she started to tell me a story about her being date raped. And her story was very, very similar to mine. And so I just, you know, felt comfortable enough to ask her, you know, who did that to you? And it's so crazy because it was the same person. And it was 20-something years later. And until that day, until that very day, I always questioned what happened to me. But that day I knew that the way that I saw things and the way that it was playing out in my mind, that I was really and truly raped.
I'm not the only one who has experienced things like that. And especially when you encounter an assault or being touched or whatever the case is, when you go through these things and you're silenced, it does something to you. So over the years, I suppressed it. I didn't think about it. It didn't happen. Or people would ask, and I just didn't want to deal with it. Until my freshman year of college, I got a phone call. And the phone call pretty much asked me, you know, hey, did this happen to you? Although this person already was aware that this incident had happened. I am now aware of that. And I said, yes, this did happen to me. And I was hoping that you would save me, you know, that you would help me. And the response was, you know, well, I was going through shit too. At that moment, my whole life had changed.
She looked at me, she said, you don't have any pain? I said, no. I said, my pocketbook hurts. She was like, what's wrong? I said, burn. And I said, well, I'll wear panties tomorrow. She was like, okay, never question me anymore. And I thought that was kind of strange at 7. I wasn't going to volunteer because I was afraid. But if she would have asked any questions as a young, I would have told, you know, children speak. I would have said something. Mm-hmm. I was just looking for anybody to ask a question. Mm-hmm. Not me volunteering, but if any adult would have asked a question, I would have been wailing like I would have told, because I was a little child. Little children speak. So I just had no opportunity for no adult to really ask me. If anybody, my brother asked me, but he was only 5. He was nobody to tell. And my other brother, he was 8. So I didn't feel like they could help me. But if anybody else had some age, I would have been like, oh yes, this is happening. Please help me. You know what I'm saying? But I never got that opportunity. So I held it in. I had an ulcer, bleeding ulcer, when I was 15 years old. So bad and because of the stress. I would tell my teacher, listen, if she would have made me feel comfortable and said, come on, I'll take you to your home, I would have told her. Because I was hurting. Many days hurting. Pain shooting in my lower area, in my rectum. I mean, I was in pain at 7. I used to cry. Used to fill a tub up with salt water and baking soda, just crying, just like, Lord, just take me. Because I literally wanted to die. Not suicidal, but just wanted God to take me. Really. I really did, because the pain was just unbearable, and I didn't feel like nobody would come to my rescue and help me. So it's a very hard situation until you've walked in those shoes of molestation, or somebody messing with you, or somebody threatening you. Until you walk in those shoes and really experience it, it's hard to say, oh, I'm gonna go tell right away, because I was a victim and I didn't tell right away. So
we're going to church 3 and 4 times a week. That was my life. After all the stuff started happening, my trust in God was lost. It was gone, because why is this happening? I didn't really blame God, but I just didn't trust him.
So I understand, when people come and they say, well, why didn't they tell right away? Why didn't they call the police? If somebody rapes me, I'm going to call the police, or I'm going to get this person, or I'm going to get that person. But, there is so much shame that comes along with it, especially if you weren't necessarily on the up and up with everything that you were doing. But regardless of whether I snuck out of the house, regardless of whether I was drinking underage, whatever it was that I was doing, that did not give a man the right to rape me. And it's not something that I carry with me every day, or that I'm necessarily angry about every day. But I just know that there are so many other victims out there that are questioning themselves, or that didn't come forward right away. So other people are side-eyeing them like, you could have said this 10 years ago, or you could have said this 5 years ago. And I just know that it's the victim's choice when they want to come out and, tell their story.
I had begun to have flashbacks of some of the previous abuses, traumas that I had experienced. So let's say 2011, 2012, it is now 2018. It took me that long to get to where I am now. In January, I had what most people would call a mental breakdown, because I could no longer take the normalization of abuse in my life and in the community around me. It takes more, I feel like it takes more to hide those stories, or keep those stories quiet, than it is just to speak and let that piece evolve from people telling what happened to them.
So, ladies out there, young women, older women, demand respect, I should say. I would say demand respect. I would say carry yourself in a way, starting out as young as possible, that demands respect as well. Because if you don't, as such, unfortunately, you get whatever you put out there. Although it's not okay for anybody to assume anything. So I would just say present yourself well. I would say no means no. Even if you agree because you like somebody to go out with them or go back to their apartment or whatever, it's totally your choice in what you want to do. So if you want to, do whatever with this guy, that's fine. But as soon as you say no, they need to stop. It's hard. If you're in a situation, definitely talk to somebody. Somebody's going to believe you. Don't ever think that you're out here alone. Don't ever think that nobody has been in your shoes before and that this never has happened to anyone else on earth, because it's happened to more people and women than it should have. There's a lot of stuff going on in the media as far as Me Too goes, and it's nothing to play with. So if you are hurting, if you are a victim, speak out. Now more than ever, women's voices are being heard and being taken seriously. So don't be scared, although it is scary. And be strong and get your story heard. We're all here. Me Too, Portland.
At 41, I want to be able to reach out to people and just talk to them and just tell them, it's going to be okay. If something happened to you, you need to seek counseling, you need to seek help, you need to be able to trust somebody that can help you through the process. No, I haven't made it through the process. I'm a survivor, and I'm still here. Every day is a process, but I can only live one day at a time.
A message to the world. I have survived so many things. The molestation at 7. I went into a diabetic home at 14 with a blood sugar of 1,695. Normal is 70 to 120. And I survived going into a coma for 36 days. I had a baby on dialysis at 42. They say you can't get pregnant on dialysis. They say you don't have a menstrual. Well, guess what? I beat the odds on that too. So I just want y'all to know I am a survivor of a few things. Got hit by a car last May 26. A trailblazer ran into me. My whole body hit the top of his truck. I fell backwards, and here I am today. Not broke, in pain, but not broken, not paralyzed. So yet, God has sustained me in those 4 areas again. So this message is, if God is for you, who could be against you? The world, keep praying, keep pushing, and keep striving for excellence.
And I hope that with everyone sharing their story and becoming more open with just saying, you know what, this happened to me, or I know that this happened to someone else, or being open to hearing other people's stories, that we begin to make this reality not so normal, because it's not just us, it's not this generation, it's not just this decade, it's a systematic issue that needs to be addressed.
And so I pray. I don't go to church like I should, but you don't have to go to church to believe in God. So I'm here to be a part of this project, so that way we can reach out to all the different men and women that has been abused and don't know where to turn to. I'm seeking counseling now. I'm looking into finding another therapist. I've been in counseling before, and it helped a little, but now at 41, I'm not getting any younger, and I can't keep fighting these demons. So I need help, and I'm woman enough to stand up and say that I need some help. And I'm seeking, and I'm looking for it, and I'm gonna find it. And you should too.
I just want to take this opportunity to help somebody else. I hope that people can see that I'm a strong woman. I'm an independent woman. It doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter how you act. It doesn't matter how strong you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. You too can be victimized, but you can also stand up and tell your story. So we just want to thank everybody for listening to our stories with open hearts and open minds. For those of you that have had any type of sexual misconduct perpetrated against you, we want you to know that the incidents don't have to define you. Although they are part of your makeup, they are not who you are. You can rise up. You can rise above them. You can still be strong. You can still be independent. You can still do anything that you want to do, because not only are you a victim, but you're a survivor. Me too, Portland.
Magic on the track, man. That's the message. Music ministry, man. I ain't knowing my pain, man. If you ain't never been where I've been to, you can't even see where I'm going. You won't understand what I've been through. All this pain inside, you ain't knowing. You ain't knowing.